All right, guys, what's going on? It's your boy Jay coming back again from We Need Clarity. Tonight, I got a special guest on the show, Miss Ivana. Before
Hey
we
y'all.
get started, guys, make sure you smash that like, that thumbs up, and of course, subscribe if you are new. Turn on your notifications so you can be updated with streams and more content just like this. Tonight's topic: men and women, and should they exercise their options? This is a very big topic for both sides, men and women. I
Mm,
think there's a full spectrum of different ways you can go about it. I think there's going to be different levels of understanding, different levels of relationships, different level of dating. Um, to start it off, me and Yvonne was actually having a conversation about water because she knows me very well. She's been a friend for a long time, a little over 10 years now. And I just so happen to have Poland Springs tonight.
And I got
And
smart water, the best water.
that
But
that that is that's the best water. We do love our water.
top
She
tier. I keep it wet over here. You know what I'm saying? It's
She got me slacking tonight with the Poland Springs, but it's all right. Sorry, I got to go to the store get my water game back right.
That's
It's
right.
all
Because the
good.
next time, I bet not catch that Poland Springs back on. You know.
Okay, all right. So men and women having options. I think the general theme of where we'll start is basically just understanding as far as how you're dating, who you're dating, and why you're dating them. Right. I feel
Mm,
like at the end of the day, if you okay, I'll start with myself. I don't like having multiple options. And there's reasons for that. I'm a
mm,
business owner. I'm very busy. I like to take my time with the one specific individual opposed to being here, there, everywhere, and basically spreading my time and energy in multiple different places. Now, that doesn't say that I don't have options available, right? I think
right.
that's the biggest
You
discrepancy,
always
right?
got the option. My DMs is reminding me every freaking day.
Right, right, exactly. So it's like when we like they try to talk like, oh, well, you shouldn't have options, or you may have options, and you may not exercise them. And it's like, well, you every I think everyone has options nowadays, right? I feel
Mhm.
like at the end of the day, you may know how to push certain people to the side if you found what you wanted, or you may have that one specific individual that you rocking with, and you like, oh, okay, this is where I want to be. But a lot of people don't know how to utilize their experiences with those people,
Mhm.
right? So, like I said, me myself, I like to talk to and engage with and date one specific person at a time. Obviously, there's things waiting in the wing, right? There's things waiting in the wing that if this don't work out, I could probably make a phone call, hop in a DM, and it's there. But I think setting accurate expectations is very important. I think that's the bottom line.
All
What
right.
about you?
And you know what? But you know what? I've always been that way in regards to trying to date one person at a time. I guess if
Hmm.
I was considered dating or whatever, it's been a lot of things I've been through
Hmm.
over the past decade or so. But up until before I met my son's father, I tried to start, having my
Hmm.
options open because I feel like if you're gonna have your options open and you're going to date multiple people, I'm the type of person to be real and upfront about it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because of the fact that not everybody thinks like you have to, like you said, set that expectation for what it is.
Yeah.
Especially with us women, because naturally, when we're going into a situation with a man, we want to think that we are the only one that's in line. Like we
Hmm.
got this in the bag. Once you tell us that you like us, you feeling us, you thinking about a future, whatever, like we know we got you. At least that's how it is. But when eventually we have to find out the hard way that we're not the only one and you got other women in line and you wasn't honest about that communication, that's when the foundation crumbles. I feel
Hmm.
like people need to be more honest, and I've always been honest to a degree, to the point where it's always hurt my chances, because I feel like men, when they hear that honesty, they're not used to it from women because they're expecting for us to lie constantly. I don't know why that is, but it's just,
Mm.
it's like we tell you, oh, we haven't slept around with 10 guys. We keep our numbers low to please y'all and all that other stuff. I know we get deep into that. But it's like y'all so used to women lying. So when you get a real one that's real about it,
Uh,
all of a sudden you're
uh.
scared to get comfortable. And it's like, all right, well, she might be too good to be true. So now I gotta go with the other options in line just to make sure, because now I'm insecure. You're starting to show your insecurities.
So wait a minute. Let's
I
going
know
down
I
this
don't
rabbit hole now. We
have
going down
to
the
get
rabbit
that out
hole.
because that's just been my experience. I feel like that's why I have been very unlucky
Okay.
in these relationships, including my past one, because that level of honesty seems to get me in trouble. And so it's like, do I really have to scale back who I am?
So to me, I mean, I would want to have that level of honesty. I think at the end of the day, the more honest you are, the more open you are, the more it's going to draw me towards you, right? So if you're telling me exactly what you got going on and exactly who you've been as a woman, then I can make the decision as far as better how to approach you and how to basically understand what you may need, right?
But
The
do you feel
problem
like
is,
you've always been that way? Or do you feel like you're more understanding and you're in that respect now with us being older? Do you feel like you've
I,
always thought that way?
no, no, I'd say this. It's probably because of experience, right? I realized that as I've gotten older, being in the situations that I've been in, having the conversations that I've had,
Mm-hmm.
being lied to, right?
Mm-hmm.
You learn through the experience. So having a woman who's actually open about what she has going on and being real about what she actually wants, I think is way more refreshing than dealing with someone that's going to lie to you just to act like they're more innocent than what they are. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so that brings up, so since you did admit that you haven't always thought like that, having a female like that that's always been just upfront and real, how do you feel you approached it when you was younger?
Um,
Or how did you approach the situation? At that point, did you decide to go with your other options? Did your insecurity start to show
it's
because
a
of
good
the level
question.
of honesty?
No, no, and I'll be honest with you though. I think in the beginning I didn't care, right? I think in the beginning I didn't care to ask the right questions. I didn't care to pay attention to the certain things that I needed to because as a younger man, like we're not looking at that kind of stuff. We don't care about that. We just want to smash. That's just the reality of it. But at the same time, we
Very
want
sad, sick reality. But not a lot of y'all are upfront about that. And that's another problem. We can delve into that too. But
no,
yeah,
that's me being real. That's me being honest about it. Like when you're younger, you just want to smash, and then obviously like if something happens out of it, then it happens. But we're not looking at it in the sense of um, I need her to be open to me about her past. Like we're in the moment, right? It's not until we get older. It's not until we realize, okay, like I want a serious relationship and I want a family and I want children and things like that, to where we start being able to really pay attention to those things that we need to. And I
mm,
feel like as a younger man, and the reason why I'm able to have these conversations that I'm having now, um, I would have wanted someone to be like, "Hey, well, you need to start asking these kind of questions so you know what she's doing, what she wants,
mm,
where she's been, and potentially where she's going to go." Now, granted, everyone's not going to be upfront and as honest as you, right? And I'm assuming that's something that you've learned over over your timeline, over your history, um, to give who you are, to speak your truth in a sense. And it's just really interesting to think back to that because I now regret not asking those specific questions for multiple reasons.
mm.
Multiple problems in relationships could have been fixed, or I could have picked up on red flags if I would have just asked the right questions.
Facts. Facts. Because we're natural healers. Like we see the potential and we just is like a moth to a flame.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we start focusing on. And at that point, it's like sometimes you just get too caught up, and then you don't realize stuff to the very last minute.
No,
You
that's true.
knee deep in.
Quick shout out to Jesse James, because I think most females these days have one foot in and one foot out because they get stuck in their ways after a certain age. Um, from personal experience from the women that I've dealt with, I can definitely attest to that. I can attest to the fact of them being stuck in their ways and basically not um, wanting to change or wanting to be moldable. So I
Mhm.
think that's kind of the territory that as an older man or as a more mature man, you realize what you're dealing with when you deal with an older woman, right? You can't go into the idea of thinking that you're going to be able to change someone that's set in their ways. And I would think that's the same thing for older men too, right? We can't sit here and say that it's very easy for someone to come in and change us. I know for me, I'm very stuck in my ways at this age. So you're going to have to be extraordinary. You're going to have to be absolutely amazing to try and change something this way. So I can only imagine the same thing with women. But I feel like if you do have, um, you do have the same kind of foundation, you have the same kind of goals and moral values and things like that, someone may be more uh, approachable in the sense of wanting to change things for you. I think that's a big thing to pay attention to. You may find that one woman who's willing to change things for you specifically, but it's far and in between.
Well, there's definitely a difference in how you approach it and being narcissistic about it. And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
some men don't understand how to approach it, especially when they've been used to handling females a certain specific way. And
Mm-hmm.
if the previous one, two, three, four, 10 females never told that man about themselves and how they were carrying,
Mm-hmm.
then now he's going to bring that energy to this next woman. And then now it's going to be a shock to his system when she finally be the one to be like, yo, chill. I need you to talk to me like this. I will respond better like this. But
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, once you are set in your ways, that's about it. I think what I respect though, talking about the age gap and stuff, I had a situation where this guy that I'm best friends with to this day, he's a bit older than me. And
Mm-hmm.
we tried a little bit. It was a lot because I got a little mouth on me sometimes. And at that time when I first got to know him, like I was just really on some like no man's going to do this to me and that to me and da da
Mm-hmm.
da because I had been through enough. And he's just like set in his ways, like, yo, you're not gonna talk to me like this and da da da. So for a minute
Yeah.
when we were getting to know each other, it was a lot of just meticulous arguments for no reason because we were both like acting like alphas, like, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So we understood that even though we're both good people in our respects, we
Mm-hmm.
just ain't good for each other. But he respected me enough to be like, because I know you're a real one, I want you to be my friend. And once we established the groundwork for that friendship, that was it.
Let me ask you this. So as far as, because you mentioned about being dominant, right? You were both dominant.
Mhm.
Um, do you think in today's society being a dominant woman has gotten you further in your relationships, or has it taken away from your relationships?
No, that's actually a really good question. It's hard for me to say, only because one, I haven't been in a lot of exclusive relationships. Like
Mm-hmm.
I had my last, well, prior to the one that I was in about 2 years ago now, the last one I was in was like over a decade ago. And that relationship kind of traumatized me. So
Okay.
I wind up getting into some situationships because I felt like if a man is going to cheat on me regardless, me being a good woman just wasn't enough,
Mm-hmm.
then, and they're going to have their options open and do them, then okay, the situationship is fine with me because I know what I'm getting into. I know that at the end of the day, we're not official. So you can do you and I do me, but just don't be mad when I'm doing me. And both situationships I was in that didn't work out because they still got mad when I did me. But that's a whole other conversation. But,
And I was gonna say,
I feel like I was really, I had my dominant times,
okay,
but I guess because it wasn't an official situation, my dominant side kind of took a side. I kind of started noticing my dominance more in my very last relationship.
okay,
And I noticed that just me and his ideals and just the way we handle situations individually, I
hmm
started to understand that he just wasn't matching my potential energy. And I felt like, I wouldn't say I felt like I'm man in the relationship, because I don't want to say that. I feel like I was very
no,
low,
no. I think there's a difference as far as
but
being dominant
did
and
have a
being a man, right?
I
Yeah.
did have a strong personality. Like, he was the first man I ever dealt with that actually wanted to express his feelings, for example.
hmm
And because of years of me just kind of being in my own mind, sort of say, because I wasn't used to having an official relationship,
Yeah.
I didn't like that soft part of him. I
Okay.
thought it wasn't manly enough, if I'm being honest. And I never really voiced that to him clearly, only because I knew if I said it a certain way, it would hurt him.
Yeah.
And I never want to be that woman. But I started noticing that our energies just wasn't matching. Not to say that I want a man um so dominant to the point where I feel like I can't be feminine at all.
hmm
Like, I'm scared to be feminine. But it was too much, because it felt like every time it was something.
Do
And
you?
I guess he was more in his feminine energy, still a man, but he was more in his feminine energy than I was. I guess, let me say that. So I
So
I couldn't relate to that.
so let me ask you this. I'm glad we're actually getting into this conversation because it's very important. People have a real deep issue when it comes to understanding a woman being dominant
Mm,
versus a man being dominant, especially in a relationship. There's so many different ways you can go about it because if a woman's super dominant in regards to being overpowering or
mm.
overbearing in regards to her man, then that's going to, demasculate him. Um,
I think that's what the word I was looking for earlier.
yes.
And that's not something I wanted to do. And that's a lot of the reason why I actually ended the relationship.
hmm
I mean, it was other variables that came into play for it, but that was like the main one.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I wasn't respecting his energy and his aura that he came with. It just was clashing. And I
hmm
knew that if I stayed longer, I would become more dominant. And I didn't want to start feeling that way. I didn't want to be that.
Well,
So,
I commend you because a lot of women that I would say I dealt with, they didn't realize a lot of the issues that they had. They would kind of just either find a way to change the narrative in regards to their issues and paint a
start
different picture,
blaming it on you. Yeah.
or blame it and not
Reflecting.
take accountability. And that's not to even sit here and say like I was a perfect person, but I think at the
Mhm.
same time there's a lot of issues that they didn't want to take accountability for.
Right.
And
So there's going to be a lot of deflecting
oh yeah,
naturally when you don't want to take the accountability. Because it
100%.
can't be, it's never on. I've come to learn and understand, obviously, you got multiple sides of the story all the time. No
hmm
one's ever 100% pitch perfect. That man might have been cheating on you and he was wrong. He's the villain in that story for that. But did you take time to understand the core reasons? Were
hmm
you actually both communicating about something? Were you noticing something was off? Because sometimes you could be in your own zone, in your own mind, and you're not seeing the things in your relationship that you should be seeing.
hmm
Like, did you start emotionally cheating? And maybe he caught that and decided, okay, well, in his mind, he already think you physically cheating, even though it's just emotionally. It's so many variables to the reason why relationships end. And I think it's time for us to understand that yes, it does take two. Like there
It
is
does.
not really one villain in the story. Like you
There,
can't really be too perfect.
so it's funny that you bring that up too, because a lot of people they don't really understand the difference between like uh physical cheating and emotional cheating, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand the blurred line between the two. Now, cheating is cheating, and we're not going to advocate or condone that cheating is okay in any way, shape, or form. But there is a big difference in understanding that your woman or your man might know how to emotionally cheat very well, but won't physically cheat. And
Yeah,
whether
because
that's
that emotional cheating is fulfilling something that he's missing.
exactly. Um, Shout out to Rodney says, "Are you sure you are dominant or just open and honest, Ivana? Because a woman who is open and honest is applaudable in this world." Just saying. So
It could be a mix of both. I mean, the people that's around me and stuff, I do feel like sometimes I have a a manly aura. I'm not gonna front about that. It might be because I'm a New Yorker and that's just naturally how we are sometimes.
mhm.
But you know, I'm kind of getting in my soft girl era a little more as I get older. You know,
so
I just
so
gotta
I,
find that person that matches that energy to make me. You know, I don't think I'm ever gonna lose that though because that's
yeah.
kind of what protects me in the long run. So I can't never change that part 100%. I could just lessen the effects of it.
So okay, let me ask you this then. Well, it's more of a statement than a question. I think the premise of someone becoming softer for the individual that they're with is based on how the individual makes them feel, right? We
That's
had
fact.
a we had we had a
So always
topic.
remember how somebody makes you feel.
Yeah, we had a topic a few weeks back in regards to how men can be vulnerable, and there
Mm-hmm.
was a lot of discussion of this because for me, I don't get very vulnerable. I don't. I have to trust you. I have to be with you at such a level to where I can feel comfortable
I know for that
before.
to be a fact.
So you know it's got to be a certain at a certain point a certain level of trust that I can get the message across to where I could even remotely feel comfortable to tell you certain things. Like I might not even tell you how my day was, right? You'll ask me and I'll be like, "Oh, it was cool." But I won't tell you about the things that I had going on my day just because I don't trust you in that way. And it's not in the sense of I don't trust you as the woman that I'm with, is that I don't trust you with my emotions. I don't trust you with how I feel because to me that's coming off weak, right? I can't confide in a woman because the majority of the time women feel that that's weak, right? And as a man we always have
Mhm.
to have everything on our shoulders.
And that does suck.
It's the truth though,
It does suck.
right? And it's the truth, and it goes back to what you said as far as like being a dominant woman. So as a man, they're not going to tell you that you're being dominant. They're just going to try to match the energy or go above and beyond. But the problem is most men don't know how to handle dominant women. They don't have the ambition for it. They don't have the motivation to do it. So they may be physically attracted. They may have some kind of chemistry there, but eventually that dominance is going to wear off,
Mm.
and it's gonna turn into them becoming more feminine. And you're like, well, why you acting like a little girl? And he's like they don't know what to do. And I've seen it. I've seen a lot of men go through that thing, and a lot of them are known as simps, right? Everybody likes to use that word. A lot of them are known as simps, but it's really unfortunate because the dominant woman is what we're dealing with in the modern society, right?
Mm.
That's another topic that we can get into, how to deal with dominant women. Um,
It's
the
just a
dom.
matter for me personally.
Mhm.
I need someone that has a perfect balance.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, I never want you to be too hard to the point where I feel like I'm never gonna have your heart
Hmm.
because I can't get inside your brain. I don't know what's going on. You're never gonna share that part of yourself with me. And then that's a situation I was previously going through too. And that's when I finally had to decide to be like, you know what, this is enough because I'm not in the healing business no more. Like
Well,
if
so no, listen. So
that's
it
stuck
goes
in your
back to what I
way to the
said.
point where this ain't working out. But like I said, as far as my ex, I just felt like he was And I feel bad for saying this, but I just got to keep it real. It just, he was too much in his feminine energy in a sense of how he expressed his emotions. Maybe if I didn't feel like it was like, if it wasn't a constant thing, I mean, granted, I know I had my issues. Like I'm not
Mhm.
trying to make me out to be perfect, especially with that being my first real relationship
Sure.
of a decade. So
Yeah.
it was a lot. But you know, he just didn't have that balance enough for me. Because it's like you want to be the man, you want to be the man of the house, you want to do this and you do that, but it's just I couldn't feel it.
I feel like there's levels to it, right? There's levels to it because, like I said, I've been with dominant women, but it's kind of put me over in a sense where I've had to get over that. I had to be more dominant as a man.
Mhm.
The problem is when does the masculinity become too much, right? How much male
Mhm.
bravado do you have to appeal to that dominant woman? Because I feel like the majority of women who are dominant, they're dominant because they had to be independent, right? They're dominant because they've been in a world to where they had to defend themselves in a sense, so it creates that energy or that aura. The problem with it is you can have that, you can be that person, but when it comes to the relationship side of things, the man doesn't want that. The man wants the feminine energy. The man wants the feminine woman. The man wants
Mhm.
the that petite woman around him that's gonna, not petite in the sense of weight, but like that
Right.
feminine energy. So, and that's not to make him feel that he is a man, because he should know who he is from the start.
Mhm.
But that's that's the energy, and that's the concept that makes the magnets attract, right? Masculine energy, feminine energy. So when you mix two masculine energy together, right,
Right.
that's going to create an issue
Right.
some way somehow, because they're either going to feel some kind of way because they're not able to I want to say assert themselves,
Mhm.
and versus the woman, because she's going to be like, well, I'm dominant too, don't tell me what to do, I'm going to tell you what to do, right? But at the end of the day, nobody should be telling anybody what to do specifically.
Right.
But
And like I said, and you definitely touched on a good point.
mhm,
And again, with the situation with my ex though, in respect to even though how I was with him, I want to
mhm,
give him his props because he still had patience with me.
mhm,
And in a sense, he kind of did soften me up eventually. I didn't really feel the effects of it while being in that relationship,
yeah,
but eventually not having him around anymore and having to face myself and my own demons,
mhm,
he gave me a lot to take in because now I know, even though me and him didn't work out specifically, but a lot of things he did in that relationship that
mhm,
that did call for me to be feminine, in my soft girl era. Like I know now really what I want in the next relationship. And there's a lot of things that he did. So I
yeah,
don't want to sit up here and down him particularly. It was just certain mannerisms, certain things that he did that I just couldn't get with personally because unfortunately I was still too rough, like around the edges. And I guess in a sense, I will say that I couldn't appreciate him
mhm,
for who he was. But again, staying in something that you just know is not going to work is
yeah,
never going to be
never
good.
good.
I never, even with that situation, I never wanted to be that girl because I could have stayed, could have
Mhm,
had everything I wanted, and I could have had it.
yeah.
But why would I do that when I know that is just I'm not going to be able to give my all to it?
Well, putting yourself in a situation to where you're just in it because it's comfortable, or you're just in it because you've gotten used to a person, is never a good thing.
Yeah,
In fact, it's unhealthy and it's toxic.
very.
Um, yeah, no one should basically be in a situation that they're not happy in, or if the other person's not happy and they can't figure out why. If it can't be fixed, or if it can't be on mutual grounds, then it's
Mm.
best to leave the relationship where it is and move on.
And that's right.
Um,
And I feel like, invariably, even though I did hurt him, I hurt myself in a lot of ways too.
mhm.
But, I've always been that type where I'm gonna see things for what it is, even if it's not right away. Eventually, it's always gonna click for me.
So
So.
Shout out to Jesse James says the next dude is going to be the lucky guy because he taught you what a guy or what taught you what a guy would put up with. Um, I'll be honest with you, Jesse James. I think we all learn from experiences, whether you're a woman or a man. You learn
Mm,
from the previous experience, and you're able to move on and not only share that experience with someone new, but apply a different version of yourself. Because there's
exactly.
plenty. I was going to say there's plenty of stories and plenty of times where you've heard that someone went out of their way to do or be what the next person needed just because of how they felt about them. That's why you'll hear the stories of someone say, I was with this person for 6, 7 years
Mhm.
and they went off and they're with somebody else and now they're married after 6 months, right? So
You
it's
never
not,
understand it at the time, and we're gonna naturally be in our feelings. Like, why
yeah,
couldn't they be who I needed them to be with me?
yeah.
But that's just how the cookie crumbles. Like, you ain't always meant for just because you're good doesn't mean you're good for that particular person. Maybe
And
your
that's
role
the
was
reality
to
of it.
prepare them for who they're supposed to really end up with, and that's really the name of the game. Like, you could be in your feelings all you want, but you got to eventually take it for what it is.
How many how many times has that happened? But what's crazy is when you think about every situation or every relationship that you've been in,
Mhm.
it's always what you take from it and what you learn from it. And
Mhm.
that's why I said for me, back in the day, I think I was someone who definitely exercised options, right?
Mhm.
Before I got married, after I was married. Um, but as I got older, I started realizing it wasn't about exercising those options. It was about finding the specific individual that I wanted to be with and
Mhm.
building on that foundation. Obviously, when you look at the past experiences and the things that you could learn from, what is it that made you better, right? What is it that you took from those situations that you could apply to the new thing to get it to where you want to be? Because the biggest issue is this, right? People have these conversations as far as, oh, I want this, I want that, I want the house with the white picket fence, I want the marriage. There's people out here that just want to get, married for the wedding. They don't want the
And
true
that's
story
pure
that it
fact.
comes with, you know?
And you're too busy
Um,
trying to impress people that's not even gonna matter in the downline. Like,
e-
at the end of the day,
exactly.
marriage is only gonna be y'all two. Like, why?
Yeah. Yeah.
Me personally, I don't even want a wedding like that. I'm fine with going to the courthouse, or let's go to Vegas and get it done and over with. I can have a bomb reception with the people that I care about most, which is
uh,
going to be far few in between. Because again, wow. But that's a whole nother
uh,
topic. I'm
no,
trying not to.
no. I mean, listen, it's good. It's good. We're going down this road because there's people that need to know. There's women out here that they don't want to get married unless they have a $30,000-$40,000 ring. They don't want to get married unless they have a $50,000 to $100,000 wedding.
And that
And
society that puts it in the brains, like you get brainwashed,
yeah,
and But I mean, at the end of the day, what I will say too, in that respect, never downgrade from what you want. There's going to be somebody that wants that same thing or is willing to give it to you. Like, if you want that, then why would you be with a frugal man that don't like spending money and think it's going to work out and think you're going to change them?
because I'll say this because they feel like they can either mold him or shape him into what they want, not realizing that this man is frugal for a reason. He may
Like,
not be frugal
wild to be like,
because he,
it'd
you
be
know,
wild.
no, I was just gonna say he may not be frugal because he's broke or he doesn't have the money, but he may be
Right.
frugal because he knows how to save his money and he
Exactly.
knows,
Smart
he knows, yeah, he's
monetarily.
smart with it. Um, but how many times does that happen? How many times have we heard the stories of where, you know, people were having conversations as far as how they want their wedding to be, and they're like, "Oh, like I want a destination wedding, and I want 150 people there, and I want to spend all this money." And they're like, "Listen, like I just want to have something small. I want to
But
have
it
an
just
intimate
gets down
wedding."
to the details. A lot of these people, especially women,
Mhm.
they've had this mindset for a very long time.
Yeah,
Like, and then a lot of the times they're probably taught from it by, whoever, family members, friends, whatever, and they kind of grow with it. And like I said, I don't want to say that that's a bad thing. If you want a huge wedding and you want to do it up, because obviously the goal is to do it one time and one time only, then you do that. But get with the person that's going to be okay with making that happen. Like maybe I don't know if I'm just too different, too woke or
So
whatever.
so let
But
me ask you this then.
I don't get the understanding when I see women get so upset, they cussing and screaming and being bridezilla to the great. Like I don't understand it. Like,
Let,
why
let,
you know who this man was? You claim to love this man. If you know the ins and out, why are you upset?
let me ask you this. Do you think that it's acceptable for a woman who has had multiple children, maybe
Mm,
even a previous marriage, to be so demanding as far as maybe a second or a third wedding or marriage?
mm,
Let's talk about that one because
wow.
that's a big one right now.
I mean,
That
but
is a
at the
big
end of
one
the
right
day,
now.
Josh, let's not judge it. Because at the end of the day, we don't know why those marriages.
Okay, let's run the scenario. Let's run a scenario. She's got. I'm not gonna put a specific. Okay, let's say she's got 2 kids. She
Mm,
was married before.
mm,
Um, she's moved on. She's with a new guy,
mm.
right? They've got to the point where they're settled. They got a foundation. He's ready to propose. Do you think that she should be so demanding as far as the next wedding? Do you think that she should have this big extravagant wedding, or do you think they should just have something on the lines of like what they could afford, or something that makes sense due to it being a second marriage, second wedding?
I don't feel like she should lower her standards at all. It's her standards is what she want. Again, my issue is when you have these standards and you're not with a person that's aligned with those standards. And then you want to force that person to be aligned with your standards because they love you. You're using your love as an advantage to get what you want.
But that's what most of them do, right? So let's talk about that fact. So yeah, they may have these high standards, and they may have had someone that gave them the wedding of their dreams, which was their first marriage. But let's say
Mm,
they move on to this second guy, right? He's taken the kids on it under his wing. He's
mm,
treated them like a great, potential step parent. Um, they're going fine. He may say, "Oh, you know what? I can only, allocate this specific amount of money towards this wedding, or this specific amount of money towards, towards what you want to do."
mm.
And they get mad at him because he's not at the same standard that they had previously,
Right.
right? We
And
see a lot of that.
it's very unfair at that point because, again, if you're getting to the point of marriage, then you know the drill.
Hmm.
And at that point, isn't a lot of marriage relationships in general about compromise? Granted, like I said, again, you can have all the standards you want, but if you claim to love this person, you see a future with them,
Hmm.
are you willing to compromise?
Well, I mean, we.
If you're not willing to compromise, then I'm failing to see where the love is. Because if you're so caught
So
up on that one day when you really have the rest of your lives together, you got to think about all the expenses that comes with after the wedding, especially if you're trying to get a house or you're trying to,
mhm.
have joint businesses, whatever it is. Like, I think the issue is people don't see past that day. They don't
there.
think about the life that has to happen afterwards. What is
Let me.
your future goals looking like for real past just the wedding date?
There was a story. I just read it. No hate on the Beyonce fans. No hate on the Bayhive. All
Child,
right.
don't have the beehive in here trying to sting us now. I don't got time for
But
that shit.
I gotta bring the story up. So there's a story. It was a couple. If you guys haven't been paying attention, there's a story about Beyonce Renaissance tour, and the price of the tickets right now. They're like ridiculous, astronomically high. So
I think I know what you're talking about.
there's a story going on around social media right now where the couple they basically had a fund. They
Hmm.
basically put
Yeah,
into this fund together,
that
and
was
it was a house fund. They were going to buy a house with this money that they had been saving. So the woman said, "Hey, I wanna go to the Beyonce tour,
Mm,
or the Beyonce on the Beyonce tour. I want to get the tickets." The man says, "Hey, that's fine if you want to go," but she says, "Well, I don't have the money to in my actual savings, but I want to take it out of our fund." So he
mm,
looks at her and he says, "Well, what do you mean? Like that fund's for our house? Well,
right.
like doesn't make any sense. Like why you would take that money out?" So she gets mad. She starts saying, "It's my money. I put it in there. I want to go on this Beyonce tour."
Right. She even got specific with the number,
Oh yeah,
the
yeah,
amount
yeah.
that she actually put into the fund.
Yeah,
That was
she's like,
wild.
"I put this specific amount of money in there. I
Yeah.
wanna take it out, and
That
I
was
wanna go
wild.
spend this money on the ticket." So he politely said, "Okay," gave her the money, let her buy the ticket, and then
Mm,
he broke up with her. She basically then got mad and said, "Oh, wow, you're really gonna break up with me because of this?" And he said, "Yeah." So we talk about compromise, right? And I'm glad
mhm,
you brought that up because that led to that story.
mhm,
Compromise is not only looking at the goals that you have, but it's
mhm.
looking at the goals that someone else have, right? Because if you're together, you're in a relationship,
Right. Now you
compromising is
find
saying,
the whole
okay, I understand that we have a shared thing that we're trying to achieve. We have
one.
to work on this together. But if you're just going to be selfish, you probably shouldn't be in a relationship. If you're just going to be selfish, don't include somebody in future plans and things when you know you're not that person.
That's facts. But then I mean, like I said, again, that's why I feel like where it comes to aligning yourself with the person that's aligning with your energy and how you get down. Because there, in that respect, maybe if she would have got with a man who was okay and didn't care,
Mhm.
because it's all about him pleasing his wife or his fiance, girlfriend, or whatever. You got men like that just don't care. So again, it's really about aligning yourself with the person that's going to work well with your energy. If you
That's
cannot,
true.
like I said, I just and I'm speaking as a full bred woman.
Mhm.
It sucks that there are women that use love to their advantage to
Mhm.
get what they want. And I mean, to a degree, everybody kind of does that a little bit. But when it gets malicious, like that situation,
Yeah.
and you start noticing the red flags, like honestly, I can't blame him for breaking it off because now I've already seen it. If you're willing to break something like this, we've already come together with a goal,
Mhm.
and you're willing to first of all, you talking about how much money you put into it instead of how much money we put into this.
Yep.
You already not thinking about me in that respect. Then on top of it, you're ready to spend this massive amount of money. I mean, granted, I mean, but I feel like Beyonce is still gonna be around for a while. I feel like that could have been a small sacrifice to
Well,
pay in order to make sure you got that house first, girl.
the thing about it is this, right? The saying goes, women use sex for love, men use love for sex.
Hmm.
Um, in the midst of all that, right? There's compatibility, there's chemistry,
Mm,
there's setting up foundations, there's having traditions, there's having same, certain ideologies. You're not going to be the same
all those
person
variables.
as yeah, you're not going to be the same person as your significant other or
Definitely
your
not.
partner. Um, but there has to be a common ground on decisions, right? So
Mhm.
I feel this is, and we can get into the financial talk too. We'll get into it now, but it'll be another video topic later. The
Mm,
specifics about financials, and I'll say this is me being a business owner. Me, I have assets. I have a lot of stuff going on. I
mm,
can't trust any female or any woman with my finances,
mm.
right? There has to be a level of commonality. There has to be a level of understanding. We have to basically be able to not only be on the same page, but I have to know that you're going to make the right decisions if I can't. Do you know
Yeah,
how difficult that is? And
right.
these are the things that people aren't really thinking about when they get into a relationship most of the time. They're
Mhm.
thinking about the initial attraction and stuff like that. But
Right.
me, I'm thinking about, okay, sure, she looks fine, and we have great conversation, we have great chemistry. But can she manage my businesses for me if I got sick? can she run things? Can she run the household properly if something were to happen to me? Will she be able to take care of the things that I need her to take care of
Mhm.
from a business and financial standpoint? Yes, love is fine. That's all fine and good. Sex
But
is great.
it's not
You
enough.
know,
Let's just keep it
it's not
100. That
enough.
will never be love. If
Yeah.
that's your core foundation, let's lock that down now because
Oh,
it's not gonna be
oh.
enough.
You know what I say? I really think, and it's very important. A lot of people are not going to agree with me. You have to treat your relationship like a business. Leave the love out of it.
Because
Start
that's what marriage is, though.
exactly. Marriage is
I'm
a business,
glad
and
you brought
people,
that up
yeah,
because that is what marriage is,
yeah,
and people sometimes they get upset when they hear you talk about it like that. But let's not forget how marriage, the
yeah,
epitome of marriage, even started in the first place. Like
yeah.
people was doing the barter system in order to survive. This is how it came about.
Yes,
Like
yes,
you, like so. Let's not ever forget about that. People that
yes.
are smart
And
in their marriage and they get the prenups and they get everything down, living will,
mhm,
testament, all that. Like,
yep,
please be smart.
all
Because you
that stuff from the insurance, like you said, living will and testament. Um, you know, the health stuff, like all that stuff has to be set up and understood. Like I said, the problem is people aren't thinking that way. There's so many celebrities right
mm,
now who or recently who were married, right? They were married, didn't have a will. You're a
yeah,
celebrity. They pass away. Now you got the wife fighting the court system and going through all the issues to get
mm.
access to the estate. The kids don't. The kids are scattered. There's all kinds of issues there.
And now
People
they
have
got
to
to come
start
to
getting
other
stuff in
family
order.
members because everybody feels entitled now
Yeah,
to that. It
yeah.
is so much
Yeah,
that
people
goes
have to
into that.
start getting stuff in order. But like I
Mhm,
said, it starts in the beginning, right? It starts in understanding the person that you're with. It starts
mhm,
in understanding their business acumen. It starts in asking the right questions in regards to their history. Start
okay,
asking people, whether it's a male or a female, ask them, "Hey, have you ever had a business with your potential significant other? Have you ever did this? Have you ever did that? Have
mm,
you invested with your exes? Have you bought real estate with your exes? How have you shared business interests? All that
mm.
kind of stuff is very important. It's not just about the looks, it's not just about the sex, it's not just about
'Cause
spending time
the looks
together.
is gonna it looks is gonna fade eventually.
Exactly.
I mean, even though I feel like I'm still gonna look good, but you know. But you know,
Fine.
you
Age like fine
can't
wine.
rely
Fine
on that.
wine.
You
Fine
can't
wine.
rely on that. So
Um
yeah, you definitely make good points, and you know, it's all about the experience though. So hopefully now that a lot of us have, you know, lived a bit of life now, and you know,
mhm.
we're now trying to figure out what's the next step. We got
Yeah.
to start having those uncomfortable conversations if we're looking to bring someone else in our life
Yes.
and our energy because it's important now. Like we don't got time to waste no more. Like the 20s, even a little bit part of your 30s, like that's fun, but like
Yeah. Yeah.
now I'm getting older, like I really need to think smart. Cause I don't know
That
how much more time I got. Like the fact that I even made it. I mean, we survived the whole damn pandemic.
mhm. Mhm.
Like, if
Yeah.
that doesn't make you want to just really treasure life, I don't know what is.
No, it's
Too
like
many, we lost too many people.
I've
Something that we
definitely
even didn't think it was gonna get that tragic in the
no,
first.
and that's why I move a lot different than what I used to. Right? I move a lot different from what I used to. I ask different questions now. I'm very intuitive. I'd rather scare a woman away by asking the questions that I do than her stick around and her bullshit me or
Mhm.
her just want to finagle her way or finesse her way to just getting my time because my time is very valuable. I don't
Very
have free
valuable.
time to give away. My time is very valuable.
Mhm.
So at the end of the day, like there's people who've gotten mad at me because I'm very direct. I'm asking the questions that I need to, and they're
Mhm.
like, "Oh, I wasn't prepared for this." Well, you're not prepared for me,
Right.
and
Go be with someone
that's
else
just the
that again
reality.
aligns with your energy and your aura because clearly we're just not a match. And
Yes,
that's okay. Like you don't need to feel offended or some type of way You just gotta learn how to take some things. And I mean, after knowing you for so long, like we've always matched well because no matter what, we was always gonna be real.
Oh yeah. No, that's without a doubt.
Even when we disagreed, it was still always gonna be real.
Yeah. And I think that's the big thing too. Like whether your friends shouldn't always agree with you. Your friends
Mhm.
shouldn't always have the same. If you got friends that always agree with you, leave them alone. They're not real. Your
Right.
friends need to come
So
and
those are gonna be
smack
the
you
type
upside
of
the
people
head
that turn
sometimes.
on you at the drop of the hat.
Yeah. Yeah, like you need friends that's gonna smack you upside the well,
They
not
gonna be
condoning
the ones
violence, but
to tell your business
yeah,
when it
yeah,
all falls down. Like definitely
yeah.
don't do that.
Now your real friends, they're gonna set you straight. They're gonna let you know what you're doing wrong, what you're doing right. They're gonna tell you when you're making stupid mistakes.
Mhm.
Um, they're gonna make sure that they have your best interest at heart. Um,
That's right.
because yeah, you don't want people around you. But shout out to people around you that are just trying to appease you. Shout out
Mhm.
to Rodney. Says I hear you, Jay. I've had two businesses for 25 years and a night shift job most of the time. When I got divorced, I had to shut things down till the smoke cleared for a few years. And that's tough, Rodney. Right? It's tough to hear that because it not only makes things more of an issue for you in the future,
Mhm.
but it creates things to be problematic because starting back up businesses is not an easy task, right? Especially when you got things in motion. So
Just
when you
living
lose,
life in general after, especially, I mean,
Mhm.
that's a long time to have been with someone and then
Yeah,
having to start all over.
yeah. So shout out to Father Time as well, saying I'll take the truth, take care of you both, and thank you for being candid. Most deaf Father Time, thanks for being here, man. Shout out to all you
All
guys.
the time been really, really speaking in, like,
Yeah, he liked this topic. He was like, this is the one. This is the one.
appreciate you. Like,
Um, no,
okay.
it's been a great topic. It's been a great evening. I think we've covered a lot. Obviously, if you made it this far, make sure you guys smash that like, that thumbs up, and subscribe. Turn on your notifications for more content just like
Say you
this.
like me and you want to see me back.
We'll have Ivana back on the show for more. See, she's great with the topics as well. And it's always a good time. It's always a good conversation with Ivana. We go back and forth about a lot of life stuff, and it's always great. I'm learning stuff from her. She's learning stuff from me. So you got to
Yes.
keep people in your circle that you learn from at all times.
That's facts because life is all about elevation. And especially now that, again, gotten older, understood a lot, and
Hmm.
really took the lessons that I was supposed to learn from previous situations. And now that makes the blinders, any blinders that I previously had that were closed, is all
Hmm.
open. I'm woke in my own way, but in a good way, the
It's
positive.
good
I needed to be that way because as long
experience.
as you don't learn the lesson, you have to keep repeating it, and life will let you know when you
Hmm.
haven't learned your lesson because you're just going to keep attracting them same people, the same energies until you finally get it.
Experience is key. Experience.
The best teacher.
So, all right, guys. Shout out to each and every one of you. It is Friday night, so if you are going out, make sure you guys have a safe night. Enjoy your evening, and we'll see you guys soon.